stuff. They're big on that kind of thing.
I'm not.
Yeah, me neither, but the great thing though, it's really kind of almost a day maker here. There's an afternoon meeting too I was supposed to go to, but I couldn't. I have class. I said, I'm not gonna miss, I can't possibly cheat my students. So, it's an odd situation though. I work in the only field where customers want less for their money. I'm pretty sure there would not be many tears shed if I canceled class to go to that meeting. But nonetheless, no need to thank me, I am here. So how we doing?
Good.
How is the reading coming?
Good.
Okay, let's say Tocqueville more or less intelligible. Okay, well you seem quiet today. I am tired today. I don't know why. I just feel really drained. Maybe I'm just spending the morning over in the Dark Tower, so.
Cancel class.
What?
Cancel class.
I would, and part of me is tempted by this, but not the best part of me. The best part of me says, duty before rest. Why, thank you, and it will, yes, it's betraying my Italian roots, although I must say that the Italian side of the family didn't know that as well as the other side, but they don't seem pretty hard-working to me. Everyone was always working, but, yeah, maybe they just assimilated quickly. In any case, if there are no questions, let us get down to business. Try and look around, just getting a count of people before. That's why I'm tired today. Someone is missing. I'll figure it out. Who?
Kennedy.
Kennedy, of course. Okay, and yeah, I thought Ella Jane was going to be here, but she is not.
She's doing thesis work.
What?
She's doing thesis work.
Okay, well,
She said she might come later though.
Yeah.
oh, okay, very good, very good. Let us see. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, as in last Tuesday in this very room, it does seem a long way away at the moment, we had been looking through some of the readings, right? And I began, I believe, with new material by talking about the Oakley reading, which we'd already laid out in the class before that, but I read you some long passages there and making the concluding point being that although in Western civilization, this innovation occurs where religion and politics are not exactly the same thing, or in some degree, in some sense, separated, nonetheless they are connected. They are inextricably intertwined because what we understand a human person to be and human life to be all about is going to affect how we think human beings should live. And indeed, the very effort to just, if you think of this kind of an ironic twist in all this, the very effort to distinguish, at least to some extent, to differentiate in some way religion and politics, comes out of what? A distinctive religious tradition. So it's kind of an irony if you think about it. It's a particular religious tradition that causes us to think religion isn't the same as politics, which underscores the intrinsic connection there between religion and politics. And then we discussed the American experiment, did we not? And we made the point that America was an experiment in a twofold sense. Perhaps not intentionally, it became an experiment in religious pluralism, enable a society housing of a variety of different religions to continue to cohere, where the religious pluralism didn't undermine social cohesion and plunge the society into civil war and intense conflict and things like that. As we'll see, we do the more historical part of the course after we're done with Tocqueville. We'll see there it did cause a fair amount of conflict. but it didn't like blow up the whole thing, so it disproved the claim. It's impossible for it to work with absent religious uniformity, or at least under certain circumstances, a religiously pluralistic society can maintain the kind of consensus and solidarity on which its vitality and stability depends. We said, secondly, it was an experiment in the ability of human beings to sustain self-government, however you want to phrase it, or to sustain a regime of ordered liberty. There are many different ways of articulating the point, but again, at the time of the American founding, the conventional argument was you could not trust the people with self-government. If you turn government over to the people, the majority will run amok. It will do unjust things. It will persecute and oppress those who are not part of the majority. And over and above being really mean and really unjust, it'll be really stupid government in the sense it'll be very short-sighted, nobody looking ahead. Let's spend a lot of money, for example, with no concern about how we're going to pay the bill when the bill shows up. Also, it was considered that giving individuals a kind of broad latitude to organize their lives would be catastrophic. You couldn't trust most individual human beings with organizing their own lives. They would do things that were destructive to themselves. They would do things that were destructive to society. Human beings simply were not intelligent enough. They were not good enough to sustain a regime of self-government and ordered liberty. America was self-consciously an experiment in proving that wrong. When you read the Federalist Papers and the speeches of the founders over and over again, they'll say, we don't think that is true. We think human beings can create and establish for themselves a regime of self-government and ordered liberty. And here in America, we're going to prove that to you. Here in America, we're going to leave you with no doubt. Fair enough? And then we moved into our discussion of Tocqueville. Tocqueville visits America, 1831-1832. He's here a little less than 10 months. He subsequently writes 2 books, both go by the title of Democracy in America. And the book for our class, this volume contains both of those books, so we're reading selections from, if you'll, both of the democracies in America. Tocqueville is interested in American democracy because, not just because he's a curious guy or something, it's because he believes democracy represents the future of France and indeed the future of all of Europe. Given that, he wants to know what this new thing is that's coming into being. What is this child that is being born in our midst going to be like when it's fully adult? When it's coming to its own, when it's full grown? And Tocqueville's answer is, we can't be sure, correct? Democracy is, like all human systems, imperfect. It has strengths and it has weaknesses, it has virtues, it has vices. Okay? And at the end of the day, whether democracy ends up being a curse or a blessing is going to depend on what we do with it. Again, the analogy of a small child. This thing needs guidance, it needs education, it needs formation. And towards that end, he attempts to devise a new political science. The first part of it, an objective, dispassionate review of, account of democracy, warts and all, the good and the bad alike. Not a biased account designed to make it look bad, or a biased account designed to make it look good. if you will, just the facts. This is democracy. These are its strengths. These are its weaknesses. These are its positive. These are its negatives. And the second part is to educate democracy, right? To educate it not in the sense of making it enroll in a class and take notes and fill out scantrons. By the way, that was designed to be amusing. Democracy filling out a scantron. Do I have to start using the hand gestures? I mean, tell you this when you laugh. Is that good? It doesn't mean it's funny. In any case, it's lonely up here. In any case, educated in the sense of alerted to itself. Give it teach it about itself, teach it to understand itself, and teach it to find the way to manifest all the good that it makes possible. Find a way to help democracy overcome its weaknesses. Or if it can't overcome them, at least compensate for them. Or at least ameliorate them, adulterate them, make the weaknesses less large and less destructive than they ordinarily tend to be. Fair enough? And then we turned our attention to two meanings of democracy. Democracy is a political system, government up forward by the people, and democracy as a social system. Okay, as a type of social order. In an aristocratic social order, there are distinct social classes. They have names, everyone knows what they are, they're reflected in law, they're reflected in custom. You're assigned a social class at birth based on who your parents are. Once you're in that social class, you cannot escape. You're there for life. And each of those social classes represents a distinct subculture. They may speak different languages. If not, they will speak different dialects. They will wear different clothes. They will eat different foods. They'll have a different set of table manners. They'll have different forms of entertainment. Each class is sort of a closed social universe. So it seems almost to those living there like the people in other classes are a different species. And at the heart of an aristocratic society, the conviction that some people are really better than others, right? The whole system's predicated on that notion. So we need to give the power, we need to give the prestige, we need to give the perks to the superior people. We need to make this society is built on that whole ethos. Certain people are better than others, they're entitled to govern. Certain people are better than others, they're entitled to more respect than others. Certain people are better than others, they are, entitled to certain perks and certain rewards for their superiority and the important work that they do within the overarching schema of society. Pretty much anyone can be a peasant. It's not, able to dig holes, tend crops. It's a special, only rare special people who can do more exalted things, and they have to have the rewards and perks that go with their talents. And, rewards and perks that reflect the importance of what they do. A democratic society, on the other hand, is different, right? Democratic society, no one's assigned a particular class at birth. There is social mobility. Poor people become rich, rich people become poor. People go up and down the social ladder, as it were. People tend to inhabit a common culture, to dress alike, to talk alike, to act alike. At the heart of a democratic society, the conviction that we're all equal. that our similarities outweigh our differences, that we're all entitled to respect. So it doesn't matter if you're richer than me or more powerful than I am. I might be the poorest guy in town. You might be the rich guy living in the big house up on the hill. Fact of the matter is, I don't have to bow and scrape when I come into your presence. I don't need to kneel down before you. I don't need to get out of your way on the sidewalk. And if I don't like you, I'm entitled to tell you exactly what I think. An ethos of human equality. Common thread connecting political democracy and democratic social conditions, the equality principle, right? This is all by way of review. Okay? Then we said that although you would think that democratic political institutions and democratic social institutions fit together like hand in glove, they're completely compatible. In the long run, there is a tension between them. In the long run, democratic social conditions can threaten political democracy, individual freedom, and human dignity. For our purposes, that's the central thesis of the Tocqueville book. If we're spending the whole semester on Tocqueville, we would have other theses in play. But we're just focusing on one kind of sliver of this very lengthy, very complicated book. Fair enough? And then we said to understand how and why democratic social conditions can undermine political democracy, individual freedom, and human dignity, we have to look at the attitudes, the mindsets that democratic social conditions tend to foster, the values that they tend to promote. Every social system and every political system shapes and molds the people who live in it. It affects how they look at the world. It affects how they live. It affects how they understand human life in society. And different kinds of social orders give you different types of human beings. So to understand why Tocqueville believes democratic social conditions can be dangerous in the way I indicated earlier, we need to look at the attitudes, the mindsets that democratic social institutions foster. Fair enough? First of these attitudes and mindsets, we're almost caught up, right? Was what? Consumerism, right? Democratic social conditions act to encourage people to seek to change their social condition. Democratic social conditions foster people who are, as it were, go-getters trying to improve their lot in society. People who aren't satisfied with their standard of living now, they want a better standard of living. And they will work tirelessly. Okay? They will work tirelessly in pursuit of the creature comforts that they seek. See, I'm tired today. They're always on the move. They're always restless. They're always chasing after something. If only I could double the size of my farm. If only I could add a couple rooms to my house. Life would be good. But Americans find that even when they achieve what they sought, even when they double the size of their farm or add some rooms to their house, they discover they're still not happy. And they look around and try to figure out, why am I not happy? And they say, I know, that wasn't what I needed. I need this over here. So we're on this restless quest that seems to be never ending. That's why America at first seems exciting, later seems boring to Tocqueville. Seems exciting because everyone is moving, everyone's trying to improve themselves. Americans are constantly in movement, go, go, go. they're the ultimate go-getters, but it turns out they're all chasing the same thing. And after a while, that sort of gets old. What causes this orientation we call consumerism? Number one's the fact of social mobility. In an aristocratic society, there's virtually no social mobility. In a democratic society, there's a lot of social mobility. And what this means is that a democratic society encourages people not to be satisfied with their lot. It encourages them to dream, to think big, and to work hard to make their dreams a reality. Fair enough? Also, democratic social conditions foster this attitude we're calling consumerism because of issues of identity. Because of issues of identity. Right? In aristocratic society, you're given a handy-made identity in the overall scheme of social life. Who are you? I'm an aristocrat, I'm a bourgeoisie, I'm a peasant. In America, you can't fall back on anything like that. So in a democratic society, people tend to use consumption as a way of developing and expressing to others an identity. I'm the kind of person who wears these kind of clothes. I'm the kind of person who drives these kind of cars. So on and so forth. That was our first attitude. Second attitude we called individualism. Correct? We left off in the middle of individualism. He distinguishes between individualism and selfishness. Okay? Between individualism and selfishness. All sorts of society all sorts of societies have selfish people in them. Wherever you have human beings, you're going to have some selfish people around. That may be unfortunate, but that's the fact. Individualism, on the other hand, which calls a calm, considered feeling, is unique to democracy. And we tried to illustrate, we'll talk a little more in a few minutes about what we mean by individualism. We'll try to develop it a little bit. But we, I think, moved over to why democratic societies foster individualism, and we were talking, if my memory is correct, about Dylan the shoemaker, right? When Dylan is born in an aristocratic society, as the son of the village shoemaker, he's going to be a village shoemaker. Nobody asks him if that's what he wants to do. Nobody asks him if he has a natural gift or aptitude toward that. That's simply the way it is. Congratulations, you're a shoemaker. And the kind of life he leads, where his father is his teacher, who teaches him about shoemaking and teaches him to manage the family business, where his father eventually emerges as sort of his business partner, where he lives at home with his parents in his whole life, on top of the shoe store or next to the shoe shop, and with these big multi-generational living arrangements. It fosters a psychology, we said, I'm just doing this briefly because we did it last time, a psychology of connection. His whole life is spent in this complicated web of social relationships. These relationships are there when he's born. They'll be there until he dies. That's the way things are. So it connects him to a family. It connects him to a family history. It connects him to a particular house, to a particular neighborhood, to a particular village. Connection after connection. And again, when I say this is a little connection, I think I said this last time, I don't remember now. That doesn't mean everyone's always happy and singing Kumbaya. He may be working in the shop with his father and going out of his mind, I can't stand being around him all day. I need a break. But that's simply life. There is no break. That's simply a given, and you go from there. But let us now imagine Dylan born in a democratic society. Dylan will be the son of our little village shoemaker. So Dylan, you're the son of the village shoemaker. What are you going to do when you grow up?
I don't know.
Right. The point is, you have no idea. You could follow in your dad's footsteps, take over the family business, but you could do something completely different. You don't know what the future holds. Since you don't know that you're going to be working side by side with Dad, since there are so many possibilities here, your dad really can't be your educator. So you're sent off from school to learn about this big world of ours. And being sent off to school means you spend a lot less time around your family. And many people, when Dylan has finished up high school, he might decide to go off to college. He says, I want to do what do you want to do and learn in college?
Political science.
Okay, well, it's every child's dream. I know that feeling. So, as I always say, when I was little, I wanted to be a cowboy or baseball player, then a novelist, then do aquatic biology. But finally, when I was around 13, I hit on the ultimate dream. I'll devote my life to studying political science. Weird, isn't it? Yeah. 13, everyone's going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. And I'm like, I'm going to be a political scientist. Got a lot of strange looks that way. A lot of them. In any case, he goes off to school. That kind of weakens the connection to family. Then he goes off to college to study political science. College is hundreds of miles away. Now he sees his parents, his family only a few times a year. Finishes up in college. Once his education is done, he's offered his first job. But taking his first job means moving 500 more miles away from home. But he's pursuing his dream of being a political scientist. So he moves further from home. And he's pursuing his career, as we like to say today, or that's the term we use. And let's suppose after he's been in his career for 5 or 10 years, he gets offered a new job. And the thing about this new job is it involves relocating. And hence it involves taking you farther from home again. So think about it. Dylan's life is very different. He doesn't spend his whole life living in the same house. That would strike us as strange, right? He doesn't spend his whole life living in the whole same town. He doesn't spend his whole life around his parents and his extended family. Dylan is a guy, kind of an individual guy, pursuing his dreams, marching, as it were, to his own drummer, going off to pursue his destiny. If aristocratic social conditions foster a psychology of connection, democratic social conditions foster a psychology of disconnection. They foster a psychology of disconnection in all sorts of ways. They act to weaken his connection to his family. They act to weaken his connection to a particular home or a particular geographic house. Weaken his connection to his neighbors. Weaken his connection to his family history. When he was Dylan the shoemaker in an aristocratic society, he lived in, his grandparents were at home. Maybe even his great-grandparents when he was little were still around, all living together. Now his dad moved out when he grew up, just like Dylan moves out. He doesn't know, just like he doesn't know his parents as well and spend as much time with his parents. He spends relatively little time with his grandparents and doesn't get to know them nearly as well. The neighbors are constantly changing and he's moving around anyway like everyone else. So he doesn't get to know his neighbors, so he loses a sense of the history, the family connection going back over time, and he comes to think of himself as an individual pursuing his own dreams. An individual doing his own thing, pursuing his dreams. So democratic social conditions foster that kind of mindset. Now, when I say fosters that kind of mindset, do I mean that everyone has it? No. But it pushes thinking in that direction. So most people are going to be thinking that way. Okay? So now, let's circle back to individualism and selfishness. Okay? See, a selfish person is looking out for number one. And a selfish person is going to do what they need to do to take care of number one. And that means, in a weird sort of way, a selfish person is aware of everything around him. He has to be aware of everything if he's going to effectively pursue his self-interest. He has to understand what he needs to do to get what he wants. So he needs to, for example, he wants to get a promotion at work. It's not just a matter that he needs to know the job and the technical part of it. He needs to know who makes the decisions about who gets promoted and how he can call himself to the attention of these people and get on the good side of these people. So an individual, a rather selfish person, given that they're willing to manipulate and maneuver, has to be very aware of the people around them, of the social landscape. Now, I'm not saying a selfish person would be sensitive to the needs of others, but he'd be aware of others to the extent that he'd know how these people might assist him or impede him in getting what he wants. An individualist, on the other hand, is sort of oblivious. He's so focused in on himself, his own life, his own dreams, his own goal, his own immediate family, his own best friends, that he forgets about the rest of the world. That it's almost, he doesn't think about them. It's almost like they're unreal to him. They're kind of ghosts floating in the background, as it were. Ghosts floating in the background. So near the end of the book, see, I'm tired tonight, but give me a moment to think of what I wanted to say next. Later in the book, after the passage I will read you before today is over, Tocqueville trying to illustrate some things, and he asks you to imagine a great mass of people, a huge throng or crowd of people. Say the Quad on a nice day with beautiful springtime weather, when everyone is out there and everyone's passing through the Quad, whether it's to get some food or find their buddies or get to a class. You have this vast multitude of people, says Tocqueville. They look at one another. As you walk through the Quad, you see all these zillions of other people. He looks at other people, he never really sees them. It's like he sees through them, like they're transparent. They're, like I say, ghosts floating in the background. He looks at them, but he doesn't really see them. He touches them in a big crowd. You brush up against people. He never feels them. He's lost in his own dreams. He's lost in his private world. And it's not that he wishes anyone else ill. It's just he doesn't think about anyone else. They're not on his radar screen. They don't occur to him. He's surprised to discover, that there are other people. So an example I'd like to give, let me see if I can pull this up. Imagine you're talking about a work situation. If for some reason, maybe, I don't know, it's the Christmas party, maybe it's something, there's a big reception at work. And you have this throng of people hanging out together, trying to get to the bar in the hors d'oeuvres. Okay? You with me on this? Okay. A selfish person walks into that room and he scopes out the room. And what is the selfish person looking for? People who can help him get what he wants. So if Luke can't help him with anything, ignores Luke. But if, on the other hand, Sophia can help him get that pay raise he's eager to get, he makes a beeline straight to who? To ingratiate himself to Sophia. An individualist walks in the room, and they're focused on whether the food is any good. Oh, there's some good snacks here, and where's my buddy? Where's the friend I like to stand around the water cooler and gossip with? We need to talk about what's the Super Bowl's coming up. We need to talk about that. Okay? I don't think we've planned a Super Bowl party yet, my wife. I have to mention that to her. In a subtle way that doesn't get me in too much trouble. So, it's an annual event. I'll make my sons cook. That's the deal. Make them grill. In any case, you see the difference? What?
Burn your house down.
Nah. They're grown up now. All but one of them is competent. So they're grown up ones. One of them's still working on it. So maybe for a long time still. God help us all in my bank account. But in any case, you see the difference here between the attitude of the individualist is not that he wishes anyone ill. He's just focused on his own stuff, so he doesn't notice anyone else. Let me find a quick passage here. I think it's around page 505 or something like that. Page 506. No, 508, I'm sorry. Talk about the growth of individualism. I'm on 508. I'm in the first full paragraph on the page. 4 lines from the bottom. Such folk owe no man anything and hardly expect anything from anybody. They form the habit of thinking of themselves in isolation and imagine that their whole destiny is in their own hands. Thus, not only does democracy make men forget their ancestors, but also clouds their view of their descendants and isolates them from their contemporaries. Each man is forever thrown back on himself alone, and there is danger that he may be shut up in the solitude of his own heart. And although, as one footnote to this before we move on, although individualism and selfishness are different, individualism can easily turn into selfishness. Because I'm in my private world, I'm doing my own thing. I got my immediate family or my couple best friends hanging out with. And again, I'm pursuing my goals, pursuing my dreams. And I'm very happy in that warm little space with just those people. But suppose someone else comes in and crashes that space. Suppose someone intrudes on my private little world that I like so much. Let's pretend there's a new boss at work, and he's making work a lot harder. And the boss is laying people off. Okay? That is concerning to me as an individualist. He's endangering my comfortable little life. And the reaction tends to be selfish. You've got to figure out a way to get this person out of the way in some form. Get them out of your life so you can go back to doing your own thing. You want to do your own thing, and when other people crash in, make it harder or impossible to do your own thing, you get very unhappy. An individualist gets very unhappy. Attitude number 3. I know you've been looking forward to it. Let us call it, I can sense the suspense in the room. You gotta give me some, at least a little feedback here. I'm very tired today, I told you. I'm sleepy. In any case, well,
What's number 3?
okay, there we go. Attitude number 3, a debased and insatiable lust for equality. A debased and insatiable lust for equality. Third time, a debased and insatiable lust for equality. You all got it? Do you need it again? Okay, I got a thumbs up and a nod. Okay, let's unpack this slowly. If you think about it for a minute, just based on what we've heard about democratic man, about what people tend to be like in a democratic society, you can have a handle on the things that democratic man tends to value. For example, you may not have thought of it in these terms, but prosperity is important to democratic man, right? You want a booming, growing economy. Why? Because you're chasing your creature comforts. You're trying to improve your standard of living, and that's much harder to do when the economy around you is in free fall, when there's massive unemployment and devastating inflation, when interest rates get so high that it becomes difficult, if not impossible, to buy a house. Democrat loves prosperity. He wants a booming economy because he wants to live larger, and he can only be sure of living larger in a situation where the economy is booming. Another thing democratic man likes is to be let alone. Right? Democratic man is an individualist. He just wants to hang out with his immediate family and 1 or 2 close friends. He doesn't want to see other people, doesn't want to be around them, doesn't want to have to engage them. He wants to be left alone. Okay? He wants to be left alone, which is to say, he values his freedom. He doesn't want a lot of obligations. He doesn't want a lot of ties to others. He doesn't want to have a lot of encumbrances, duties and responsibilities to others. So a democratic man loves prosperity and freedom. They're really important to him. But they are not the most important thing. A democratic man values something more than prosperity and freedom. He values equality. Why does he value equality? Why does he value equality? The answer isn't mysterious. It's because equality is the defining mark of a democratic society. It lies at a core of a democratic order. It makes that order what it is. In organizing a society, you come to a fork in the road. You can take one fork in the direction of aristocratic society based on the idea that some people are superior to others, or you can decide that people are all basically equal and take the other fork. You can't have it both ways. A democratic society is predicated, is built on the view that human beings are fundamentally equal. That makes it a democratic society. That defines it as a democratic society. It lies at a very core of this social order. And since it lies at the very heart of a democratic society, this commitment to equality, since it's its organizing principle, since it's its defining principle, people who live in such a society are going to love equality. They've been taught their whole lives to love equality. Now, it's not that, again, it's important to understand what I'm saying here because it easily lends itself to misunderstanding. It's not that a democratic society doesn't value freedom. It does. It isn't that a democratic society doesn't value prosperity. It values it. If you tell it you have to choose, which one do you want? Freedom, prosperity, or equality? Its response will be, I want all three. All three of them are cool. All three of them are wonderful. Give me the three of them. But if you put a democratic society in a situation where you force it to choose, it won't want to choose. It won't be happy about choosing. It will resist choosing. But if you force it to choose, if you say you can't have all three, you can only have one, it will choose equality, because that's what makes a democratic society a democratic society. Page 504. I'm down there in the middle of the page. The paragraph that begins, do not ask. There are a lot of short paragraphs there. Do not ask what singular charm the men of democratic ages find in living as equals, or what special reason they may have for clinging tenaciously to equality. Equality forms the distinctive characteristic of the age in which they live. Okay? And so the deepest love of a democratic society will be a love of equality. That's the first step in unpacking this debased and insatiable lust for equality. The next thing we need to understand is under this is that a democratic society's lust for equality is insatiable. Is insatiable. Why is it insatiable? Well, before we get to that, what does insatiable mean?
To want constantly?
To want constantly, can't be satisfied. It's never going to reach a point where it says, this is great, I have all the equality I want. I'm good to go, I don't need to fight to bring about greater equality. It's never, ever, no matter how hard it tries, going to be able to establish a degree of equality that satisfies it. It's always going to be saying we don't have enough inequality. We don't have enough, we have enough equality, we're good to go, no more. It's always going to want more. Okay? It's always going to want more. Well, why is that? Well, democratic man yearns for perfect equality. But the fact of the matter The fact of the matter is, inequality is baked into the human condition. It's a basic fact of human life. Each one of us is an individual. Each one of us is different from everyone else. Some people are taller than others. Some people shorter than others. Some people are more musically talented than others. Some people are more athletically talented than others. The fact of the matter is we're all distinct. No two of us are exactly alike. And we are, in important ways, unequal. So this basic inequality is always going to be a headache for democratic man, because he's always going to be trying to create conditions more equal. But he's never able to establish an amount of equality that would satisfy him. He's always going to look around and say, we don't have enough equality in this society. We need more. Fair enough? He's never going to reach a degree of equality that's going to satisfy him, because it's just built into the human condition, page 535. Hold on, that's not the page I was looking for. I think I jotted down the wrong page. Oh, here we go, page 537. I did jot down the wrong page. I was once, where was I? I was coming back from a conference and I ended up sharing a cab ride. Do you remember where we were? With Toquiville. Now, who the guy who was a Toquiville scholar and he really wrote, that was his specialty. Okay? And he used to use this very translation with his students. It's not the best translation, not the most accurate, but it sort of flows and is easy to understand. Some of the more accurate translations are clunky and stuff, so make it a little more challenging for students. But we were playing a game where we each give a quote from Toquiville and they would have to tell us the page. It was great. I got him, he thought I didn't know. 445. I showed him.
Nice.
I matched him quote for quote. I was very proud of myself. See the kind of thing you like when you become a political scientist? I'm sure the cab driver was telling his wife about this. I had these really weird guys in my cab.
Hey, maybe he went home and picked up Toquiville.
Yeah, maybe he was like, I gotta see what the hype about this was.
It's conceivable, but I wouldn't bet the ranch on that. Maybe throw $1 on it with 1,000,000 to 1 odds. How's that? In any case, on the bottom of page, see, we political scientists are fun. Remember when I was in graduate school, we'd go out, the guys, for some beers after the class, and remember there was one semester where we spent the whole semester arguing over what was the coolest Federalist paper. You probably did that with your friends growing up, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
I always thought they gave short shrift to 55. Admittedly, most of it's pedestrian, but the end is brilliant. But you always had the 49 guys and the 51 guy, the 78 guys, or the really annoying Federalist 10 guys.
They're
Okay?
Yeah, they're annoying.
They were great on me. I mean, they have a strong argument, but it's kind of obvious.
Right.
Okay. In any case, see why I wanted to be a political scientist, because I think that kind of thing is fun. Okay, I look back at those as a day well spent. In any case, bottom of page 537, last full paragraph. One can imagine men who have found a degree of liberty completely satisfactory to them. In that case, they will enjoy their independence without anxiety or excitement. But men will never establish an equality which will content them. No matter how a people strives for it, all the conditions of life can never be perfectly equal. Even if by misfortune such an absolute dead level were attained, there would still be inequalities of intelligence which, coming directly from God, will never escape the laws of man. No matter, therefore, how democratic the social condition and political constitution of a people may be, one can be sure that each and every citizen will be aware of dominating positions near him. And it's safe to guess that he will always be looking doggedly just in that direction. When inequality is the general rule in society, the greatest inequalities attract no attention. When everything is more or less level, the slightest variation is noticed. Hence, the more equal men are, the more insatiable, note that word, insatiable, will be their longing for equality. So in a democratic society, it's kind of like this. Democratic man wakes up on Monday morning and he looks out his window at that big world of ours and he sees something that really annoys him, sort of ruins the beginning of his week. He sees an inequality. Shakes his head. I'm not sure. Yeah, that definitely is an inequality. No two ways around it. That annoys him. because he's committed to the principle of equality. So he says, okay, we need to do something about this. We need to eliminate inequality number A. Then he looks out the next morning and he sees a different inequality. It's inequality B. Again, he's startled and upset. And he says, we need to do something about it. This is wrong. Then he notices a third inequality, inequality C. And he notices that and he says, again, this can't be allowed. This can't stand. We must eliminate this inequality. That was Wednesday. On Thursday, he looks back, and what does he see? Equality A is still there. They haven't managed to get rid of it. So what does that do to Democratic man? It makes him really angry. I said we have to do something about this. This inequality must be vanquished. Then he looks out there at inequality B and he says, oh, I don't see it. Oh no, there it is. We reduced its size, but we didn't get rid of it. Well, again, that's failure. That's unacceptable. That must be eliminated. And finally, you get to Friday. He looks at it and he sees a whole different equality that he never noticed before. So we have to get rid of that. It's this perpetual discovery of new inequalities and perpetual attempts to eliminate them. That's what issues from this restless desire for perfect equality. And it never ends because perfect equality is unachievable, is at odds with the basic fact of the human condition. Fair enough? We've explained insatiable, but know what we haven't explained? Debased, correct. He also harbors in his soul a debased lust for equality. Now understand what Tocqueville's getting at. You need to understand how Tocqueville looks at this. Looking at the principle of equality, the idea of equality, right? Tocqueville says, there are forms of equality that are really good and really right, and that we ought to strive to achieve. It's noble to talk, for example, that all people, regardless of their social standing, be equal before the law. That is a praiseworthy, noble thing. And we, a good society, will strive to make everyone equal before the law. So there are noble, praiseworthy, good forms of equality. But there are also bad forms of equality. Equality can easily become a form of jealousy, a form of envy where we resent people who have a talent we don't, or a status we don't. It can be a jealousy, and it can easily become a jealousy or an envy. A commitment, it can really become a commitment to mediocrity, a hostility towards excellence, a desire, better we all be mediocre than someone excel and hence tower over the rest of us mediocre folks. That's where I was going next. Very good. There is a Kurt Vonnegut story that's on the Canvas site. I will not require, Kurt Vonnegut he's a famous science fiction writer. At least he was. We used to have to read him in high school. I don't think they probably read him anymore.
That's what I had to read Bergeron in high school.
Yeah. Well, in any case, he has a story called Harrison Bergeron. It's on the Canvas site. And it tells it's kind of a dystopian world. It's a short story. And they're living in a society, a future America, as a matter of fact, committed to total equality. So, for example, if you're living in this society and you're someone who's really graceful, they put heavy weights on one of your legs so you can't manifest your gracefulness. If you're someone who's unusually attractive, we can't have some people looking more attractive than others, so we have to have everyone wear masks to hide, so that no one can be more attractive than others. We can't have some people be more intelligent than others, so we'll have these smart people wear a thing over one ear that emits really loud noises that makes it very hard for them to think and concentrate. That's a debased sense of equality, a desire for mediocrity, a jealousy and an envy of those who have talents that we don't have. So the good forms of equality, Tocqueville says, by definition, they're good things. We ought to strive to build them into our society. But democratic man isn't real selective. He's not used to making fine distinctions. He wants equality. And he doesn't stop to think, is this good equality or bad equality? Is this a noble equality or is it a petty jealousy and an envy and a desire for mediocrity? Okay? So democratic man, if you throw the equality label on something, democratic man will buy it. He'll say, give me that, I want that. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't care if it's a good or a bad thing. He simply wants equality as such. I think there's a passage on page 55. No, I'd be wrong. But it is on page 57. I seem to have been confusing 5s and 7s a lot this week. The big paragraph on page 57. There is indeed a manly and legitimate passion for equality, which arouses in all men a desire to be strong and respected. This passion tends to elevate the little man to the level of the great. But the human heart also nourishes a debased, there's the word debased. It's almost as though I looked at this before coming up with the attitudes. A debased taste for equality, which leads the weak to want to drag the strong down to their level, and which induces men to prefer equality in servitude to inequality in freedom. Equality in servitude to inequality and in freedom. You with me? Okay, attitude number 4 on our handy dandy list. Attitude number 4, well, let me not tell you this, let us reason our way to it. In a democratic society, says Tocqueville, people take pride in thinking for themselves. It's kind of like, the state motto of Missouri. Does anyone know that?
Don't tell us what to do.
What?
Don't tell us what to do.
Yes. Not quite. It's show me. Prove it. You say this? Prove it to me. Show me. I'm not going to take your word for it. Okay. Democratic man, he believes in show me. He wants to think for himself. He doesn't like being told, well, this is what you should think. That gets his hackles up. That bothers him. He doesn't like being told, this is how you ought to live your life. He really resents that. That ticks him off. Democratic man thinks of himself as a free thinker, right? I make up my own mind. I decide what I want to think. Nobody tells me what to think. Okay? And this is because this is connected with democratic man's disdain for authority and tradition. Democratic man is uncomfortable with authority figures and uncomfortable with traditions. Democratic man doesn't like someone say, excuse me, I'm an expert, you people know nothing, now shut up and listen. I'll tell this to you. That really bothers Democratic man. Why? Because his fundamental commitment, his deepest love is what? Equality. If you're serious about equality, there's no room for these so-called experts, right? Okay, where do you get off telling me what to believe? We're all equal here. I don't care if you have a degree in something or all this experience. You don't get to tell me what to think. I can think for myself. Likewise, Democratic man has a disdain for authority figures, a disdain for authority figures. He also has a disdain for tradition. To begin with, Democratic man doesn't know a lot about tradition. Why not? Because he doesn't know much about the past. He didn't know his grandparents well. He can't remember the names of his great-grandparents. He knows almost nothing about the family history. Okay, so he doesn't know anything about tradition, so it doesn't have any weight for him. But over and above that, even if he could research and say, my great-great-grandfather believed this, that would not matter to him because he says, my great-great-grandfather is just a man like me. We both put on our pants one leg at a time. He's no better than me, so why should he, great-great-grandpa, tell me how to think, tell me what to believe? So Democratic man prides himself as a free thinker who makes up his own mind. You ever see, they used to be popular, I don't see them anymore. There used to be a popular bumper sticker years ago that said, question authority. Well, in a democratic society, everyone on the back of their horse and buggy has a bumper sticker saying, question authority. Challenge these authority figures. Don't let them tell you. Let them prove it to you. Prove it to your satisfaction. Make them show you why they are right. Incidentally, an aside, whenever you see one of those question authority stickers on cars, ask yourself the following question. Says who? Okay. Think about it. It's self-contradictory. The guy's telling you to question people who tell you what to do. That's telling you to do something. So, that is so ironic. I love that. And it teaches us something important. So in any case, Democratic man thinks of himself as a free thinker. My notes refer me to certain pages. Let's go over to page, I think it's 429 maybe. I don't know. Yeah, page 429. Second paragraph there on that page. To escape from imposed system, the yoke of habits, family maxims, class prejudices, and to a certain degree national prejudices as well. To treat tradition as valuable for information only, to accept existing facts as no more than a useful sketch to show how things could be done differently and better. To seek by themselves and in themselves for the only reason of things, looking to results without getting entangled in the means toward them, and looking through forms to the basis of things. Such are the principal characteristics of what I would call the American philosophical method. The very next paragraph, I should say, in most mental operations, each American relies on individual effort and individual judgment. So a democratic man thinks of himself again as a free thinker, someone who makes up his own mind. But there is a problem here. The problem is he can't think for himself. Why not? Okay? Well, to begin with, really being able to think for yourself, being a real expert in something so you really know what you're talking about. That involves a lot of study and a lot of education. Democratic man is not that big on education. He's interested in education insofar as it tells him how to make money, insofar as it contributes to establishing a higher standard of living, but he's not really interested in exploring things enough to have real expertise. So Democratic man, he doesn't have the education. He also doesn't have what else? The time. Democratic man is busy. His life is packed. He's on the go all the time. He's on the make all the time. He never sits still. He never relaxes. He never does anything like that. Why not? He's trying to make money. Fair enough? So Democrat man really can't think for himself. But we can even broaden that out and push that a little further. We say that's just not true with Democratic man. It's true of human beings in general. Human beings in general, he says, are dependent on what he calls dogmatic beliefs. Human beings are dependent upon what he calls dogmatic beliefs. Here we go. Page 433. I forgot to jot down. There it is. I did jot down the page. I just didn't notice it. Under Chapter 2, concerning the principal sources of beliefs among democratic peoples. Dogmatic beliefs are more or less common at different periods. They come into existence in various ways and can change both form and substance. But it can never happen that there are no dogmatic beliefs. That is to say, opinions which men take on trust without discussion. If each man undertook to make up his mind about everything himself and to pursue truth only along roads that he himself had cleared, it is unlikely that any large number of people would ever succeed in agreeing on any common beliefs. Skipping over to 434. That long paragraph. If man had to prove for himself all the truth of which he makes use every day, he would never come to an end of it. He would wear himself out proving preliminary points and making no programs. Since life is too short for such a course and human facilities are too limited, man has to accept as certain a whole heap of facts and opinions, which he has neither leisure nor power to examine and verify for himself, things which cleverer men than he have discovered and which the crowd accepts. On that foundation he then builds the house of his own thoughts. And he talks about that is true not only of kind of the ordinary average guy, but it's true even of the greatest minds. Even the guys who are real geniuses. Some guy who's a brilliant physicist coming up with these revolutionary theories in quantum physics that folks like you and I have trouble even beginning to understand. He may know a lot about physics, but he doesn't know a lot about everything. And maybe he can think for himself in physics, but when it comes to another subject, he may have to rely on other people and depend on their expertise, depend on authority figures. So he may know all there is about physics, but he may know I'm trying to go with something else. But he may know very little about botany. And in dealing with botany, you may have to turn to someone who is training in that field. He may not know much about physics, but what does he know about Roman drama or Greek philosophy? Here again, even the most brilliant among us, and most of us aren't very brilliant, we're ordinary. Even the most brilliant of us can think for ourselves in one or two areas, but in 1,000 other areas we're dependent upon authority figures. We simply trust that the people who supposedly know what they're talking about actually do. You're an historian? Oh great, you tell me about the American Revolution. Very simple. So all people at all times need dogmatic beliefs. Beliefs they accept on authority. But the need for dogmatic beliefs is, if anything, more acute in a democratic society. If anything, it's more acute in a democratic society. I'm just yawning. I can't believe it. I never yawn while I'm teaching. So, that's how tired I am. I see there'll be no late night reading for me tonight. It'll be an early evening. In any case, okay, let's go to an aristocratic society for a minute. There are lots of people that are completely dependent on dogmatic beliefs. Because again, that's built in the human condition. It's not criticism. You're not saying people are stupid. That's just it's human nature. It's the way we're made. It's the reality we have to navigate. But at the top of an aristocratic society, you have these aristocrats. And let's pretend I'm an aristocrat. And let's pretend I'm really smart. And let's pretend I take an interest in, let's see, we'll just say Greek philosophy. Okay? Well, I'm an aristocrat. I don't have a job. It's not like I have to set an alarm and show up at work at 8 o'clock every morning. I could pretty much, I've got all this money, I've got all these servants do things for me. I could pretty much spend my whole time studying Greek philosophy. I've got oodles of money and I can hire experts in Greek philosophy to come and live with me and tutor me and teach me all that they know. If I need some books to study, I'm wealthy enough I can afford to buy them. If I need to travel to learn, I can afford to travel. So at the top of an aristocratic society, you will have people, a small handful, mind you. I'm not saying all the aristocrats or most of the aristocrats, but you'll have a minority among the aristocrats who are really well educated and can really think for themselves. So that gives you at least the least little bit of independent thinking. There aren't comparable people in a democratic society. Because I might be a very smart guy, but you know what? I gotta work for a living. And that means I gotta get up and leave my house every morning. And I may have to do something that's not particularly glamorous, not particularly intellectually stimulating. But if I don't do it, I don't get to eat. And since I prefer to eat, I gotta do it. Likewise, a person on the democratic side, this Greek philosophy stuff is so interesting. I want to learn more about it. I want to go to school for longer and take more courses in it. But that costs what? Money that you don't have. And in a democratic society, people are taught, seek your creature comforts. And that again militates against it. So whereas in an aristocratic society, you might have a handful of people who can think for themselves, at least about one or two or three things. In a democratic society, you have virtually no one. So in a democratic society, there is a problem. Do you guys remember The Far Side, the old comic strip? All my cultural references are hopelessly dated. This happens inevitably, I was told by one of my teachers. Just wait. You will be an old fogey someday and no one will understand what you say. Exactly what he said to me was, you know, you're going to get a year older every year. You're always going to be 18. He was a very wise man. He was the smartest guy I ever studied with about many, many things. So in any case, I'm in a democratic society. We prize thinking for ourselves. I say I have to make up my own mind. I have to think independently. I can't appeal to some authority figure. You know, that'd just be wrong. You know, they're no better than me. That'd be humiliating. To let some guy who's no better than me tell me what to think. Can't appeal to tradition because he doesn't know about it. And even if he does, it has no weight for him. He says, so what? That's what Grandpa thought. Well, Grandpa's no smarter than me. Why do I have to think what he thinks? So democratic man has a problem. He has a lot invested psychologically in being an independent thinker. Oh, The Far Side. Okay. That's where I was. I digressed from The Far Side. First of all, they have them collected in books. Go get out a Far Side book out of the library and read. Best comics I ever saw. The only thing close to that was Calvin and Hobbes. And I knew I was in trouble when my oldest boy was around 8 and he decided Calvin was his hero. I should have known what was coming. Obviously, you don't know Calvin and Hobbes, most of you. Go get out those books and read them. They're funny and easy. They're comic strips. Okay? In The Far Side, he has this picture of penguins. And it's the sea of penguins as far as the eye can see. And every penguin looks just like every other penguin. They're absolutely identical. Their old mother could not tell them apart. And in the middle, there's a penguin singing, I gotta be me. That's my image of a democratic society. Well, are you looking at The Far Side there?
Yes.
It's good, isn't it? Check out the Midvale School for the Gifted. My wife uses that on me all the time, says I'm a leading student there. It's the school for brilliant people, and the guy can't open the door. The door says pull, and he insists on pushing. I do that a lot. Yes?
Have you seen The Life of Brian?
Yes, I've
There's
seen
a-
the movie.
there's
It's been a
scene-
lot of years, but I've seen it.
Like, you're all individuals. And like, yes, we're all individuals. Is kind of a
Yeah,
similar.
right. So democratic man, okay, values thinking for himself, thinks he should think for himself, wants to think for himself, finds it humiliating not to think for himself, but he can't think for himself. And now he's got a problem, right? He's got to think something. You can't navigate life without knowing anything, without thinking anything. So where does he look to get beliefs? He doesn't look for authority figures. He doesn't look to tradition. He looks to his neighbors. The guy next door, and the guy next door to him, and the guy next door. That's our sea of penguins. Democratic man, it turns out, according to Tocqueville, is a total conformist. But he's a conformist with an interesting twist. He tells everyone he makes up his own mind. He tells everyone he's a nonconformist. So you end up with this ocean of nonconformists. Tocqueville, page 435. Look, you ready for page 435? It's a cool one. I sense the suspense. When standards are unequal and men unalike, there are some very enlightened and learned individuals whose intelligence gives them great power while the multitude is very ignorant and blinkered. As a result, men living under an aristocracy are naturally inclined to be guided in their views by a more thoughtful man or class. Right? In an aristocratic society, people say, you superior people over there, tell me what to think and how to live, because I know nothing and you know everything. In times of equality, the opposite happens, he continues. The nearer men are to a common level of uniformity, the less are they inclined to believe blindly in any man or any class. But they are readier to trust the mass, and public opinion becomes more and more the mistress of the world. Not only is public opinion the only guide left to aid private judgment, but its power is infinitely greater in democracies than elsewhere. In times of equality, men, being so like each other, have no confidence in others. But the same likeness needs them to place almost unlimited confidence in the judgment of the public. For they think it not unreasonable that all having the same means of knowledge, truth will be found on the side of the majority. The citizen of a society comparing himself with the others feels proud of his equality with each. But when he compares himself with all his fellows and measures himself against this vast entity, he's overwhelmed by a sense of his insignificance and weakness. The same equality which makes him independent of each citizen leaves him isolated and defenseless in the face of the majority. So in democratic republics, in democracies, public opinion has a strange power of which aristocratic nations can form no conception. It uses no persuasion to forward its beliefs, but by some mighty pressure of the mind of all upon the intelligence of each, it imposes its ideas and makes them penetrate men's very souls. The majority in the United States takes over the business of supplying the individual with a quantity of ready-made opinions, and so relieve him of the necessity of forming his own. So there are many theories of philosophy, morality, and politics which everyone adopts, unexamined, on the faith of public opinion. On the faith of public opinion. Are you with me? We all together. Okay. Tell you what, my watch says 5 after. Am I accurate there? Let us take a break till 20 after, catch our breath and whatnot, and then we will return. Yep, attitude number 5, and then we can explore what these attitudes cause to happen
Well,
politically.
you didn't give us a title.
Oh, I didn't give you a name for this. Well, I have to give you a name. Thank you. A cult of conformity to mass opinion and mass culture. A cult of conformity to mass opinion and mass culture. Cult of conformity to mass opinion and mass culture. See, I've given you a title. Don't say I've never given you anything. And I will see you in 15 if I don't fall asleep at my desk while checking what email has come in.
If you're not back by 30, we'll come get you.
Okay, very good.
I saw Edo yesterday at campus.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I talked to his assistant and I said, hey, would y'all be open to coming in?
You know, a few years ago we had a teach for us.
Right. But I would like the Department of People before.
Send me an email,
Gotcha.
because I can no longer give you approval. I have to kick it up above me.
Gotcha.
So send me an email. They're Ryan, he's not running for anything.
He's not
right?
currently.
That might help, because they don't want anything that's meant, like maybe let them come in and talk about what it's like to be in Congress.
That's what I was
or
thinking.
what it's like to be campaign. They're not gonna want him advocating for a candidate or a party platform or anything like that. But I will ask and get back to you. Send an email, because I'll forget. I'll ask when I get back in the morning. I come up to a table and I'm gonna do it here. Okay, where do I go with this list? No, it doesn't go over to the side. Okay, who else? let's meet,
Yes.
I mean, fairly soon, I don't mean tomorrow, but next week or the week after, discuss this more.
What is this?
It's on my exam committee.
Oh, can I get it?
Yeah. It's on the NA Canvas page.
Gotcha.
I sent the Hart like a 2-paragraph question, and he responded with a whole lecture in an email. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Wait, you asked, weren't you asked DeSoto?
Yeah, I asked DeSoto too.
Okay, he said yes.
Yeah, so I have DeSoto, Grasso, and Faber. But if Faber had said no, I was gonna ask DeHart.
Oh, got you.
Where'd that sign on there? I was like, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
asked Bagnulis, I told you Bagnulis said yes.
Heck yeah.
And hopefully I can just write my own question and say, hey, this is what you're supposed to ask me.
Yeah, hey, you might ask me this, actually.
Ask me how I like teaching.
That's the only thing I'm scared about is what kind of question are they gonna pull out? Is it gonna be something deep from the trenches that we haven't talked about in a long time, or, but.
Or is it gonna be like a 5, whatever he's talking about?
Like, it has to be enough that you're writing like a page about it. How long does it even have to be?
It's like hours.
Maybe 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I feel like it has to be somewhat, not simple, but like for some of the classes in theory, you probably might not have even like taken them in like a year or a year and a half. That's what I keep telling myself to cope at least.
It's DeSoto, right? It's
What are y'all talking about?
Yeah.
What did you
Committees
say in your
for
email?
exams.
The
For masters?
Radian sent what she put in her emails a while ago in the group, me, and I basically just put that.
Oh.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay.
Just a slightly different variation.
I don't even know.
It's in the group me?
Mhm. So from like, I wanna say earlier January.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
before we
so.
actually started.
It's a screenshot though, so it should be able to. In the main group me, not the,
On the chats.
yeah, chatty one.
Can I just my chair was really gross, honestly.
So I don't know. Honestly, can you type?
Not really.
Just copy and paste your notes from last semester.
You can like search in the.
Arguably the same.
I don't think you can.
Is it too far up though?
Hang on, give me a second. High five.
You know that song, You're So Vain?
Yeah.
Every time I hear it, I literally only think of myself, because I'm that vain.
They're all.
It's like the whole point of the song.
I know. but
Which
it's-
version
it's
do you
me.
listen to?
What?
Which version of the song do you listen to?
Honestly, don't find me now. I like the cover that Olivia Rodrigo did. That shit low key goes hard.
She did a cover of it?
Yeah, that's some sort of show.
Olivia Rodrigo is the,
The original's Carly Simon and
I
Mick
know,
Jagger.
I have listened
The
to
Marilyn
it.
Manson version is pretty good too.
I like
Marilyn's
the,
version is good.
I like the Carly Simon version, but.
I like the little bit of the Van Halen's band when Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson are basically yelling at each other.
I love that movie.
It's so good.
Okay, I actually think it's in the chat, like the chatty chat, and I'm not finding it yet.
In cold?
Yeah, the chatty chat. Yeah, I'll be going ham in that thing.
Yeah, muted.
Literally muted.
I have it muted.
Luke, did you see what I said last in the petty chat?
You being a D1 here.
Could you
About the year?
email
Yeah.
me just the one?
I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah.
Dude, you have no idea. You have no idea. No idea.
You don't know what I sent to
About the
the
earrings.
Oh,
You.
Nobody here in here's a lesbian, I'll tell you that much. Go listen to my girl Lucy Davis, you will see what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, maybe lesbians are a conception.
what were y'all talking about?
How women don't yearn as far as men.
Oh, yeah,
I
straight
feel like
women,
that's
I'm
like
sure
a-
they don't, because what if they're in a yearn for?
You do find a good one. There's something to yearn for.
This is true.
You gotta
So
find
I've
it
heard.
first, because that's a fucking mission all on its own.
That is fucking what is it? I'm gonna do some man.
Or
Yeah.
one that won't greatly traumatize you for no reason.
I haven't found one of those.
For fun, that's their reason.
It's a good reason.
Dude, literally, I have not found a man that has not greatly traumatized me. And I'm talking just friendships. Like,
Yeah, you've never dated a man, right?
hell no, I ain't ever dated a man. I knew young.
You said I came out lesbian.
Well, I did.
I'm glad that you're gonna be the only one who gives this because it's a Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah.
But,
Can you relax? Continue.
I was gonna say, I feel like for older women who realize they're lesbian, it's really like the,
There's so many.
push up slammer.
Yep.
I feel like that is
There's
the-
so many of her lyrics that are.
Yeah,
Is she
Yeah,
gay?
not to
Yes.
mention that she
Girl.
at
almost,
least 5.
she must have
Carly
dated
Kloss?
Carly Cross, yeah.
The fact that he knows, yeah,
Did
Carly
they
Kloss.
actually date? I thought that was
Dude.
just rumored.
Dude, she started
Come on
dating,
now.
what's his name? She got married to the.
She didn't get married to anyone. She
No, Carly Cross did.
Oh.
Yes,
Carly Cross married
Jared Kushner.
Jared
No,
Kushner.
Josh Kushner. One of those two.
Is it Kloss or Cross?
Kloss.
And you don't marry a Kushner if you weren't formerly gay.
Yeah. And she married the gay Kushner too.
Explain?
What is she?
Jared, the Kushners
She's a model.
are like a Republican family,
Okay.
like really deep in there. And
What's the off topic, but you know how there's like HBCUs and we're like the one close to Latin Americans, what's that term?
Hispanic Serving Institution.
HSI.
but yeah, she went from being friends with Taylor, which might just say how conservative Taylor Swift could be. And she was also friends with Carly Cross.
Yeah, I don't
Carly moved to
I don't think Taylor is like conservative at all.
I don't think so.
I would say
think
at
Elsie's
all.
conservative.
I mean, she might be a tad.
I mean, maybe, like, in the sense, like, she is a
I don't even
white
wanna believe
privileged
that she
American,
is.
so.
But she's definitely not,
Is HSI a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
definitely
Isn't
not
Texas
a
State technically an HSI?
communist
That's
or
what HSI
a
Definitely not.
socialist.
Definitely a hardcore capitalist. Hate capitalism.
I'm getting the cold snap.
She definitely didn't get a education in being open-minded and liberal. She didn't go
Hey,
to,
you know what? Open-minded enough to read Machiavelli and then put him in a song.
Keep forgetting you have my ring and I'm like, my thumb is naked.
Bad.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
But I think really what Taylor Swift is a product, sadly, of who she's with. And this is not just her, but like other strong women have said that this is a product. Like Jane Fonda really says that she is a product usually of the men she's with and she's around. Like either her dad or her 3 husbands.
Yeah, but why do you think her last album sucked?
Exactly. I mean, I think she's a like, and I think Kelsey is more conservative.
Showgirl suck?
Lyrically,
Okay, lyrically,
her worst
it's
work.
not her strongest.
It's her worst.
The songs
Production?
are not bad though.
Slaps.
The songs are not bad.
Banger.
But no,
Production
they're
is
not
so
like,
good.
Oh, they
they're
are.
not folklore. They're not a thoughtful. It's not a thoughtful album. It is a thoughtful album.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, we're really just saying anything to appease this lady. It's not a good album. It's
Dude, but like if
It's
you
whatever-
ignore the
what's her
lyrics
producer's
and you
name?
just look up the, if you just listen,
it's her producer's name. It's just
Max
like
Martin,
no.
No.
Jack
Martin-
Antonoff.
Jack Antonoff.
but he didn't produce this
Yeah, he
album.
wasn't on this album. It was Max Martin and Shellback.
Shellback.
Oh,
So
wait.
this is like very much a poppy album.
Oh, the
It's not-
Showgirl one.
Yeah.
Got you.
What were you talking about?
I thought we were
Taylor
talking about
Swift's
Toilet Paper
Life of a
Society.
Showgirl album.
Hey, don't you
No.
ever speak poorly about that.
Yeah.
Torture Department is
So
gas.
So good.
Yes.
Yes.
Toilet Paper Department, right?
No.
Shut up. It's
Just-
one of my favorite
The
albums.
door is right there.
It's
Max.
Taylor AI.
No.
No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
What?
I would say Showgirl is probably closer to being Taylor AI.
Yeah. Dude, Torture Postcard is so good. You're not gonna tell me that you're listening to
I didn't
I
listen
Look
to
Into This
Taylor Swift.
Window and being like, ah, that's AI. No.
Adamantly.
Really?
Yeah.
Would have pegged it.
It was like, I'm like top 3% of her listeners.
Would not have pegged that.
Top .001.
I also went
Suck
through
it.
the middle school phase of, no, I'm too cool for Taylor Swift, and then came back after high school.
I did too, except I came back during high school.
I still thought I was too cool in high school and really, really was trying to be edgy.
Dude, she released The Archer and I was right
I did
there.
not have to try.
Yeah. What?
To be edgy in high school.
I didn't try to be edgy.
I didn't have to.
I'm edgy now.
Are you though? Are you?
I'm trying to be.
You're not. You're cool though. You're cool, but you're not edgy. You're cool.
What's edgy?
You had a good vibe.
Thank you.
Wait, what's my vibe? No, I'm kidding. My vibe is just high strung.
I'm nonchalant.
What is my vibe? I feel like I get a different vibe from everybody.
Like you give off a different vibe. to everyone?
You've been giving off a better vibe this semester.
I feel like I give off nonchalant.
Yeah,
Happier.
that's the only thing radiating off.
Yeah, last semester I was pretty
I
stressed,
actually
like
think I've
90% of
ever
the
met
time, and ready to like physically fight
just-
somebody. So.
I'm saying you seem lighter.
I
My
never
New Year's
do.
resolutions this year was to
Like,
stop letting
actually.
small things
No,
stress me
I am
out.
like painfully
You
nonchalant.
seem happier.
I know. It is painful.
It shows too.
I
When you look better, you're
I'm
good.
sorry.
I'm kidding.
You know,
I'm
No,
joking. I'm joking.
losing 20 pounds is also not bad. So,
There you go.
What?
apparently being happier looking.
What's my vibe? Very good one. What was that chuckle?
I'm happier looking.
It's like I don't necessarily feel happier. I'm still ready to fight the drugs I have.
What's the
but-
vibe I get?
I think like I really tried to understand the
Sometimes
concept
you
of
do
like
kind of have like a.
worry about what I
Angry.
can control, or even not even like the fact that worrying does nothing. Like I'm worrying about things
I do have
that
resting
solve
face. I know
nothing
that
in my life,
It's
and then I
okay,
try
so do
to
I.
stop worrying, and then like things I can control and know the difference.
Crazy me, but then they talk to me and they're like, oh, you're.
I would agree with that.
I had a lot of people growing up said I thought you were a bitch until I actually talked to you. So,
Everyone told me that.
Everyone tells me that.
People told me I'm
Not the
intimidating.
slightest. You were literally a ball of sunshine.
But really, I bite.
No, you don't.
Okay. That's not what I
I
heard.
feel like you would bite in the same way that a golden retriever would.
Why?
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm getting that from the people in the office. I know, but I'm not.
I miss my children.
I miss your children.
I feel like I can't ever meet your children, otherwise I will try to steal one of your children.
I thought you said date, and I was like, Amanda, what's
Yes, I'm
up?
gonna date a cat. That's 100%.
Take it.
Honestly, that's my next. That's
I
my
would
next
for
next
sure
thing.
date
Shane Dawson.
the cat.
What?
It's giving Shane Dawson.
Ew, okay. Yeah, I had to ruin it. Oh, wow.
Make a chance.
What tattoo is over here?
Woman's face. But it's mostly broken.
Oh, that was on the other side.
Yeah, that is the rose. Want a picture?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
They're on my back, they don't concern me.
See, that's why I don't know where to put like the matching tattoo we're gonna get, because I want to be able to see it.
Who are you matching
We're
with?
getting imaginary too?
No, not bro, with my cousins.
Oh.
I'm not surprised you guys are both getting matching tattoos.
We're not. She said she would never get a matching tattoo.
I did not do matching tattoos.
Why? Yeah.
I've thought about doing
Did you
one
say
with my
why?
brother, but then
I mean, I
I've
agree.
reminded myself of how much I want to punch my brother in the face.
I would get coordinating
Like a
tattoos,
sun in the moon,
or like something along those lines, but I would never get a matching one.
No. Finish song lyrics.
Our tattoo styles are so aggressively different. In
Just
that
say you hate me and be done, goddamn.
my tattoos are aggressive.
Just say you hate
Yours
me.
are fine.
Did you say you hate her?
I know, right? Bless you.
My tattoos are aggressive and dark.
I guess all I ever is.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we can't figure out a coordinating tattoo.
I wear long sleeves a lot. Yeah, we can.
I'm like,
I just don't know what.
I've never seen the faces on the tattoos. I only ever see this side. I never see that side.
Yeah, he's my dude. He's also my dude. My dudes.
I feel like I see this one more than that one.
That was just continuation.
Yeah, just to wrap it around. But this is a catfish. It's a literal catfish. It's Bobby. It's my firstborn.
When you love your cat so much, you get their face tattooed on you.
Yeah.
I can't say anything.
I actually am thinking about getting another catfish
Of Weasley.
of Weasley, but like up here.
Wait.
I have thought like long and hard about what would happen when they go, because I'm going too. So there won't be any more cats after that, because there won't be any more cake.
Hey man, you could get another cat before that.
So are we obviously that is just Tom Brady, and then we're
I don't know what that means.
We're gonna genetically modify another cat to look exactly like your cats. That
Oh.
way you don't die.
Yeah, but it won't be them. Like,
Still look like-
whatever cat I get after Bobby won't,
Won't be Bobby.
yeah, she won't look at me the way that
That's the
she
part is
does.
that you get to discover how your cat will look at you, the way that they will love you.
Think about all the love you'll get to experience.
From other cats.
From people,
Just in general.
world of kitties that are not gonna get to love you.
Think about the fact that there was a time before you knew them.
I don't like to think about that time. Bobby's dead, that's the only reason I'm alive. Like, no exaggeration.
Shout out to Bobby.
No, literally. There she is. Her precious angel face. I told him I could get him at 5:30 now. Yeah, everyone, but the feeling of a tattoo is so different than a needle.
16-year-old me have been allowed to get a tattoo. I have a giant Captain America shield on my thigh.
Oh, dude, this one I wanted since I was 14, and everyone was like, "You're gonna regret it." Da 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 da. Guess what? I'm 22. I still don't regret it.
I would definitely regret this Captain America shield.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you
Yeah.
would.
Well, maybe the Taurus constellation I was going to put on my arm. I was going to do it right here in my head, but it says too public. And it's like, just put it on the back of your arm.
Because
How is that less public?
Dude, I was the trendsetter of my family because everybody was scared of Pawpaw, and then I started getting tattoos on my arms, and I was like, what's he gonna do? Not love me anymore? I'm his favorite. And then everybody started getting tattoos on their arms. Now my mom does, my stepdad does, my aunt does. I'm like, one of us just had to start it. I see.
See, I was also the trendsetter. I was the first of all of my siblings to get that tattoo.
I would be a follower. My cousin beat me to it, except his is a wrench cross on his arm because he's a mechanic.
What in the hell does Brittany think I do with my life? She invited me to her Super Bowl party on Sunday.
You're not going?
Any interest in watching the Super Bowl with my boss?
Would be there.
You're gonna be at Brittany's?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. If you're there, I'll go.
Fuck yeah.
Wait, do we even know who's playing the Super Bowl?
Hello. Bad Bunny and Green Day.
Bad Bunny.
There we go.
I'm
That's
so
what really
excited.
matters.
I'm so glad he went out in the meeting. Yeah. Hell yeah. He should have won Album of the Year way back in whatever when with Even on Oh, that was a tattoo I was gonna get. I was gonna get the little heart on the cover album. I was gonna get it right here.
Hey, you got a tattoo idea now.
That'd be cute.
Right?
Hey!
Okay.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate that enthusiasm. Wait, I Russell's coming back quick.
Bobby has, no, Weasley has some crazy facial markings. I've thought about getting like a cyber symbolism type of thing.
My friend places to do that.
But then I feel bad because I have Bobby's whole face. And then I would just have something that like I have to tell people, oh yeah, that is my cat's face markings. Whereas this, I'm like, this is my cat.
That's Bobby and that's Weasley. And then just get another cat fetish.
Yeah, I think I might. I don't know.
I thought about getting years of every dog I'm taking care of outlined, because it's never actually been my dogs, but I've always been forced to take care of them.
Yeah, like one of my friends left me her chihuahua for an entire semester. Gotta get something for her. I love that little girl.
My brother's best friend moved into a place where he's been
I've not moved there.
exactly, that's like, why are you fucking moving?
You can't
like
bring
that?
your children,
Can't bring
don't
your
move
dog
there.
out. So me and my brother took care of him for 3 years.
3
My
years?
puppy dog.
Why would
then
you
you took
say
it
that's
back?
your dog
Yeah.
like that?
I didn't have a choice in it. My brother said, hey, Dom's ready for his dog back.
No, excuse me.
That's
Yeah.
not how that works.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What is this?
But now he lives in a house. Now he lives in a house with a huge yard.
He's 17 years old almost.
God, I'm so scared. I wonder if that's what really is gonna see if they're gonna come get him. And he's just
I heard him in the hallway.
How we doing? I remain tired. It didn't reinvigorate me. It tired me out because I got back there and I had to answer a couple emails and somebody came in to tell me about a headache that I got to fix. So much for relaxation. But in any case, we had finished our discussion of the cult of conformity, right? The fourth attitude. By the way, you're looking at the far side before, right? Good stuff. One of my favorites, it's Midvale School for the Gifted, is really good. But one of my favorites is a bunch of deer standing around in the woods, kind of hiding behind trees. There are hunters around. And one deer points at another and he says, bummer of a birthmark, Hal. One deer has a big bullseye on his chest. So, not a good birthmark for a deer. But in any case, we're having fun. We really are, guys. Okay, thank you, Sophia. Okay, now we move to our final attitude. Oh, one other point under cult of conformity as I flip my page. Here's when the, interesting, this is not a big deal, when the interesting sidelights here is that in an aristocratic society, maybe less homogeneous potentially than a democratic society. In an aristocratic society, people defer to their, as it were, betters, their superiors in the social order. But among the aristocrats, there may be differences of opinion. One aristocrat may believe this, another aristocrat may believe that. So as a result, since people defer to kind of their immediate superior, the guy responsible for them, the guy they're responsible to as well, you might end up with differences of opinion, whereas in a democratic society, there's only one authority. The authority is the authority of public opinion. And so there's kind of only one authority in play. So you tend to get less variety, more standardization. People more and more alike one another. Okay? So it's sort of deadening. And Tocqueville talks about this, and I won't read you the passages, but at the end of 436, I took last quote I read took you a couple lines into that page. He pursues it from there. So attitude number 5. I will start by giving you a name. This one's probably the most difficult of the attitudes. I spent my time answering email, talking to Dr. Bagnulo rather than thinking about it, which makes it extra challenging. We'll call this attitude the collapse of horizons. Now, if you've studied Western philosophy, you know that that phrase is associated with Nietzsche. Okay, Tocqueville does not use the phrase collapse of horizons. But what he is talking about is very similar in a lot of ways to what Nietzsche meant by collapse of horizons. And he wants to talk about certain, I guess the best way to start this, he wants to talk about certain thought patterns that you tend to encounter in a democratic society. Now, what are people, in a democratic society, what are people's thoughts focused on?
Betterment of their quality of living.
Right, increase in their standard of living. They're working hard, they're energetic people for the most part. They're working really hard toward the goal of improving their standard of living. So they're concerned with something very practical. They want to find a way to have more money. So their thought is fixed on material objects. How can I get that bigger farm? How can I afford more livestock? How can I have a bigger wagon or bigger blacksmith shop? Something like that. So their focus is very, very kind of practical. Material is the magic word here, very material. They're focused on material things. So they're going through life and their primary focus is on material things. Things that are non-material tend to get little thought or little attention. Okay? So focus on material things. And a further step is, it's an easy leap from focusing exclusively on material things to saying that material things are not only the most important thing, they're the only thing. So what democratic cultures tend to foster here is both a practical and a theoretical materialism. People live as though material goods are the only thing that matter, that gets their focus, their attention, their energy. And it's a baby step from that to saying material things are the only thing that exists. Everything is make-believe. Anything else is make-believe, is an illusion. So it fosters both a practical and a theoretical materialism. We mentioned this on page 544. Here we go, page 544. Third full paragraph on the page. I'm waiting for pages to flip here. I love the sound of pages flipping. That's why I won't read on it. Read on a Kindle. All right, I'm saying you should have a Kindle. Yeah, no wonder. Okay, democracy favors the taste for physical pleasures. This taste, if it becomes excessive, soon disposes men to believe that nothing but matter exists. Skipping down. Such is the vicious circle into which democratic nations are driven. So democracy causes people to focus on physical things to the exclusion of other things. And then the next step is to think only physical realities exist. Only physical realities exist. Okay, that's our first point here. Another point in how it affects their thinking, we find a reference to on page 430. And I wish I could just, somewhere in the middle of that page, there were a lot of small paragraphs. It's maybe a hair past the midpoint on 430. Seeing that they are successful in resolving unaided all the little difficulties they encounter in practical affairs, they are easily led to the conclusion that everything in the world can be explained and that nothing passes beyond the limits of human intelligence. So Democratic man thinks, how can I put this? Democratic man, remember Price, thinking for himself. He thinks that everything, he should be able to understand everything. And he should be able to understand everything pretty simply. Not like after 10 years of intense devotion and study. And anything that kind of isn't simple, anything that you can't unpack in a really quick, simple way, here, blah, blah, this, that, there you go, I've laid it out to you. Anything more complex than that, anything more difficult than that, he tends to dismiss as just silly. You're dealing with mumbo jumbo, make believe, that's all mystification. If he can't easily grasp it, if he can't easily understand it, the temptation is to simply dismiss it as unimportant, and even more so as unreal, as a make-believe issue, a make-believe problem. Okay? And at the same time, in a democratic society, people are not big fans of authority and tradition. Let me say 4 on the wrong page. Okay. Over on page 445 here. It is third full paragraph on the page. In times of enlightenment and democracy, the human spirit is loath to accept dogmatic beliefs and has no lively sense of the need for them. So people don't like dogmatic beliefs. They don't like pronouncements from authority figures. Over on now we move to page 450. Eventually I will pull this together, 1 or 2 more little quotes, and I will put these pieces of our jigsaw puzzle together. And this gets us to the point. First paragraph on the page, second full paragraph. I'm so tired I can't count. I'm counting 1, and then 2. People in democracies are therefore very prone to shake off all religious authority. They don't like authority figures. That includes religious authority. Over later on that page, and I guess that's paragraph 2, paragraph 4. Our contemporaries are naturally little disposed to belief. Our contemporaries are naturally little disposed to belief. You put this all together, and where does this leave you? You have a disdain for authority and tradition. Now, if you think about it for a minute, in the world of religion, authority and tradition play a large role. Democratic man likes things simple and easily understandable. In the world of religion, you deal with things that are very difficult to understand and arguably are beyond human comprehension. Democratic man is only interested in material things. He doesn't have time for anything else. And thinks those are things that ultimately matter. And he thinks that material things are perhaps all that exists. All of reality is simply matter in motion. Atoms and molecules interacting with one another. You put all those kind of dimensions together, and how does it affect their thinking? Well, a lot of different ways. What we want to focus on here is it is an unfavorable environment for religion. It said democratic social conditions are unfavorable to religious belief. It's like trying to plant a plant that needs a lot of water in a desert. It's going to be hard for that plant to survive. Democratic man is going to be skeptical about talk of God or some higher reality that transcends the world of space and time. He'll be no more, he won't be interested, let's say, in the God of the Old and New Testaments, but he also won't be interested in Plato's world of the forms and the good, or Aristotle's unmoved mover. He will tend to be irreligious. He will tend not to believe in God. He will tend not to believe in some kind of afterlife. Matter is all there is. At the end of the day, you're worm food. You die, and that's it. I like that one too, but I've got only 2 smiles on this side of the room. Need to look at you guys more. I've been neglecting it. It leads to a disbelief in a soul, in a spiritual dimension of the human person. There's no sort of spiritual reality. Human beings are simply organic machines. And you roll all those things together, and you have kind of an intellectual environment, an intellectual milieu. No interest in religion, no belief in an afterlife, no belief in a soul. Not only you don't believe in them, you don't even want to think about them. It's a waste of time. It's not like you agonized and came to the conclusion there is no soul. You don't take the idea seriously. They try to explain it to you. It's boring. I want to focus on material things. It doesn't make sense. Don't tell me I need to take some classes in metaphysics before I can understand that. It's obviously nonsense. So he says the following on 444. When a people's religion is destroyed, doubt invades the highest faculties of the mind and half paralyzes all the rest. Each man gets into the way of thinking nothing but confused and changing notions about the matters of greatest importance to himself and his fellow. Opinions are ill-defended or abandoned in despair of solving unaided the greatest problems of human destiny. Men ignobly give up thinking about them. Let me try to find some other passages. So what does that tend to leave you with? Tends to leave you with, I use that worm food example on purpose to be shocking. But leads to think, human life has no purpose, it has no meaning. There is no God, there is no judgment, there is no afterlife, there is no soul. We're simply matter in motion. We exist for a short period of time and then we die. While existing, there's a lot of pain and suffering involved in human life. Life has no meaning, it has no purpose, it has no direction. It's a blink of an eye in this vast cosmic reality, utterly meaningless and insignificant. It's not worth reflecting on anything higher or above that, because that's all there is. So where does that leave you, says Tocqueville earlier, used the frame, it enervates. Right? It sucks energy out of people. Life has no meaning and purpose. What's the point of trying? What's the point of effort? What's the point of caring about anything? and sucks the life out of people and it enervates them, makes them weak, makes them tired, and it leaves no path open to them but one. And the path that is open to them is the pursuit of pleasure. The one thing you can do in this meaningless, purposeless universe during your brief existence in it is to seize as much pleasure as you can amidst the pain and suffering before you die. And it is all over. So he tells you on page 548, first full paragraph. As soon as they meaning human beings, okay, I'll wait for you to flip, 548. As soon as they have lost the way of relying chiefly on distant hopes, they are naturally led to want to satisfy their least desires at once. And it would seem as soon as they despair of living forever, they're inclined to act as if they could not live for more than a day. It's basically eat, drink, and be merry. Grab what pleasure you can before your life in this world is over, before your life in this world ends. There's nothing other than to grab what pleasure you can. Either that or just get fetal and die. I guess that would be the alternative. So that's basically the picture. I don't know why, but I think of an episode of the old TV show Starsky and Hutch. Or wasn't actually an episode. Saturday Night Live once did a spoof of Starsky and Hutch. And you don't know what that is, because again, all my cultural references are dated, because I have no idea what's going on today. But there was a cop show where they drove around in a really fast car and chased down bad guys, and the usual gunfire action, lots of car chases and crashes and things. Now, Saturday Night Live did a spoof, and instead of Starsky and Hutch, they did Sartre and Hutch. Now, Sartre, John Paul Sartre, was a famous 20th century philosopher. He was an existentialist who was convinced that life has no meaning and purpose. Very much along the lines we're describing. That was sort of his philosophical doctrine, part of it. And in the show, they pull up to a building, and there's a jumper up on the top of this building. So Hutch grabs a megaphone and starts talking about, don't jump. You want to live. Your wife loves you. Your kids love you. People are counting on you. Don't do that. Guy won't get off the ledge. I can't talk him down. John Paul, you're really smart. You talk to him. Sartre was there with a beret and a big long piece of French bread under his arm. And Sartre takes the megaphone and says, you're right. Your life has no meaning or purpose. It is simply suffering in a different universe. Suicide is a real option. It's a way you can defy the meaningless universe. Splat. Okay.
Who's the philosopher that said that the meaning of life is whatever stops you from killing yourself?
I think
Camus.
that, I don't know.
Myth of Sisyphus, it's Albert Camus.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. By the way, read Camus' The Rebel. It's a great book, better than the Myth of Sisyphus. It's one of the books that influenced Vogel from A Problem of Power.
oh yeah.
Plus the Myth of
I like
Sisyphus.
Vogel.
Yeah, there you go. He's my guy too. Yeah, you took the Problem of Power, new Science of Politics and Gnosticism. So anyway, you have this collapse of horizons. And it really acts to drain the meaning out of human life and to deprive men, Tocqueville says, of their greatness and their sublimest faculty. Human beings can do more than eat, drink, and be merry. They can reflect on the meaning of human existence. Then they can pursue truth and beauty and goodness and love. That's the nobility of human nature. Those are the highest callings of human nature. But in the face of the collapse of horizons, they lose all their value, they lose all their meaning, and you're back to eat, drink, and be merry. So it really debases human beings. It makes them less than they should be, less than they could be, and deprives them of all that is good and noble in human life. I'm trying to find a passage here, that's why I'm doing sort of two things at once. Okay, so over on page 543, this does work. In the face, it's down at the bottom of the page, the second to last full paragraph on 543. This thing I'm calling the collapse of horizons. There's in the face of it, there's a danger that in the end he being man, may lose the use of his sublimest faculties, and he may at length degrade himself. That and nothing else is the peril. I'm trying to find another passage. Bottom of page 544, here it is. Belief in an immaterial and immortal principle, for a time united to matter, meaning that man has a soul, there's a spiritual dimension to human existence, there's a purpose, is indispensable to man's greatness. Under the impact of the collapse of horizons, men tend to degrade themselves, as it is in 548, to give way to ephemeral and casual desires. So that is Tocqueville's considered. It destroys the greatness of man. Going on back on 544, I already read you part of this quote. Such a state inevitably enervates the soul, and relaxing the springs of the will, prepares a people for bondage. Among other things, it creates people, since they're not interested in anything but pleasure, are content to surrender their freedom and their higher powers in exchange for pleasure. So those are the attitudes that democratic social conditions foster. So frustrated I can't find a quote, but I'll find it for next time that I wanted to read about this. Actually, skipped two quotes I wanted to read, but I'll do them next time. So the question is, what is the impact? You take these 5 attitudes and you mix them together. You put each attitude through your Cuisinart, and you come up with this culture that is shaped by these attitudes, all thrown together, and whatnot. That kind of culture is going to have a huge impact on politics. We don't have time to pursue systematically how will this translate in political life. I just want to follow one little thread here. Tocqueville suggests that living in a culture dominated, if you're in a society whose culture is dominated by these attitudes, 2 things are going to happen to your government. Your government is going to become more centralized, and your government is going to expand in its scope. Your government's going to become more centralized, and your government's going to expand in its scope. Now let's make sure we understand that. Government becoming more centralized, what does that mean? You can, in setting up a government, you can set up either a very centralized government or a decentralized one. So you could establish a system in which there is one government, it makes all the rules, it's in charge, period, end of discussion. It runs the whole kit and caboodle, it directs the whole show. Okay? Or you can set up a government that's decentralized. It's not just there are local offices of the central government, because they're always going to be that. But where there are lower levels of government that have real freedom and real independence and real power, they can do their own thing. They can run their own community. So you could set up a system in which states, for example, if we want to use the American term, in France they'd say provinces, but in which states have a lot of freedom and independence to write their own laws, so that the laws in one state are going to be different than the laws in another state. The laws in California are going to be different from the laws in Texas. The laws in New York are going to be different from the laws in Florida or in Alabama or something like that. In a democratic society, and not just states, you can have local counties, local towns, the whole bit. You can have a decentralized model of government in which these smaller units have real freedom to make decisions, to call the shots. Their job isn't simply to execute what comes down from them on high. They have real freedom and real autonomy. And hence each one will have their own distinctive character and what, and they'll vary significantly from place to place. Tocqueville's argument here is that in a democratic society, let's put this way, a democratic society is naturally predisposed to centralization. A democratic society is naturally predisposed to centralization. So if you're setting up you have a democratic social order and they're setting up a government, they will tend to set up a very centralized government. If you have a society that's decentralized and democratizes, the tendency over time will be for the central government to absorb the lower levels of government, the smaller units of government, to take away their power, to take away their autonomy, to reduce them to little more than administrative divisions of the central government. You with me? Now let's move to the other item here. Expand in its scope. Government is going to tend to move into more and more areas of life, to assume more and more responsibilities, to take on more and more and more jobs. So jobs that were once handled by institutions other than government will become jobs that are now handled by government. Tocqueville gives us two examples of what he means. He says, historically, the government's role in education, in running educational institutions, has been limited. Educational institutions tend to exist independently of government. They're not part of government. They might most often run by churches, by religious associations. But they don't have to be churches and religious, they can just be groups of citizens. We're living in a little town, and we want our kids, little town out on the frontier, we want our little kids, we want our children to be able to get an education. So we form a school committee, and we raise money, and we hire a teacher, doing it non-governmentally. He says what's going to happen in the age of democracy is government is going to move into the area of education. And slowly but surely, it'll be there a little bit, then a little more, then a little more, then a little more. And you will look back and at the end of the day and see holy cow, government's pretty much colonized the whole thing. Maybe there's some local associations involved, maybe there's some churches involved. But education is primarily a function of government. The overwhelming majority of students will receive their entire education in institutions owned and operated by the government. That's an example of government expanding in its scope. The other example Tocqueville offers of this is social welfare, taking care of the sick, taking care of the elderly, taking care of the poor. Again, the historical background is those things had been done primarily by churches and other associations. They were the ones who opened hospitals. They were the ones who opened homes for the elderly. They were the ones who built orphanages and things like that. But Tocqueville's argument is that in the world of democracy, government's going to get involved there. And first it's going to be involved a little bit. Let us help out. We can help you do a better job. We can improve. And then a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more, until you hit a point where, although other institutions may be involved, government is the main institution. It does 90% of the job. The others are just doing some lifting around the edges. So some quotes on this, page 680. In your last full paragraph on the page. In Europe in the old days, almost all charitable establishments were managed by individuals or corporations. By corporations, he doesn't mean what we mean by a corporation. He doesn't mean, I don't know, General Motors or whatever they call Meta or whatever these companies are. He means associations, groups. They are now all more or less under government control, and in several countries are administered by the government. The state almost exclusively undertakes to supply bread to the hungry, assistance and shelter to the sick, work to the idle, and to act as the sole reliever of all kinds of misery. Skipping down. In most countries now, education as well as charity has become a national concern. The state receives and often takes the child from its mother's arms. Compulsory school attendance, right? To hand it over to its functionaries. It takes the responsibility for forming the feelings and shaping the ideas of each generation. Uniformity prevails in schoolwork as in everything else. Diversity as well as freedom is daily vanishing. So government's going to expand into one area after another and gradually colonize it and take it over and make it largely an extension of the state. We all together? Okay? Have a question. Fortunately for you, it's a rhetorical question because we're running low on time and I want to push through it. The question is, why would this happen? Why would government tend to be more centralized? And why would government tend to expand in its scope? What is it about democracy that causes those things to happen? There's a long list. I will give you only a couple items aboard the list. The first item is uniform legislation. Democracies love uniform legislation. This is on 668, by the way. This is on page 668. They want uniform legislation. They think, and by that he doesn't mean like school uniforms, clothing regulations. What he means is the idea that everyone should have to follow the same law. It shouldn't matter who you are. It shouldn't matter where you live. Everyone should have the same rights. And everyone should have the same responsibilities. and everyone should have access to the very same governmental services. Why is it so big on uniform legislation? What drives its passion for uniform legislation, Sophia?
Equality.
Equality. We want to treat people equally. Well, if what rights and responsibilities you have depends on what state you live in, if what social services you have available to you depend on the county you happen to inhabit, you're not treating people equally. One standard for everyone. And if there's going to be one standard for everyone, there has to be one centralized government making the rules. If you allow localities to make their own rules, they're going to make different rules. They're not all going to think alike. They're going to go off in different directions. Uniform rules means highly centralized rule making. It means one authority making rules for everyone about everything. End of discussion. So that is one way. Democratic, that is one way. Uniform, democracies foster centralization. Here's another way. What is the deepest love of a democratic society? You know this.
Equality.
Equality. So living in a democratic society, I'm a democratic man, I look out my window and on Monday I see an inequality, and on Tuesday I see another one, and on Wednesday a third one, and then on Thursday I discover they're still there, damn it, they haven't gone away. Who do I turn to for help? Turn to your friend, the government. We say, government, this is unjust. This is unfair. People should be treated equally. Government, you're here to help us. You're here to assist us. You work for us. Make equality happen. Go out there and eliminate these three inequalities we'll notice. Then we notice a fourth inequality, and then a fifth, and then a sixth, and then a seventh. And each time we notice a new inequality, we tell government, do something about it. And to do something about it, government needs to expand. It needs to make new rules, more rules. It needs to move into more areas of life. Fair enough? So again, this desire to, and what happens is we tell government eliminate these inequalities, and then we look later, and they're still there. We say to government, what? Redouble your efforts, work harder. What do we pay you people for? You don't do it, we'll get better public officials who will solve this problem for us, who will eliminate this unjust situation. Bottom of page 672. Very last paragraph before the footnotes. Men's hatred of privilege increases as privileges become rarer and less important. The flame of democratic passion apparently blazing brighter the less fuel there is to feed it. I've already given a reason for this phenomenon. When conditions are unequal, no inequality, however great, offends the eye. But amid general uniformity, the slightest dissimilarity seems shocking. And the completer the uniformity, the more unbearable it seems. It's therefore natural that love of equality should grow constantly with equality itself. Everything done to satisfy it makes it grow. The ever fiercer fire of endless hatred felt by democracies against the slightest privileges singularly favors the gradual concentration of all political rights in those hands which alone represent the state. And if you read that long footnote that I will not read to you, he talks about, on page 672, he talks about this. how a democratic society may be committed to freedom, but it notices an inequality and says, okay, we don't like big government and we don't want government meddling too much, but we really got to get rid of this inequality. Go do it. And then they notice another inequality and they make another exception. And sooner or later, without everyone planning it, government ends up everywhere. Government ends up doing everything, and nobody understands why this happened. How did this happen? How did this thing get so big? No one asked for this gigantic government, but you asked for this and this and this and this and this and this. You add them all together, and what you have is a ginormous government. Here's another reason why this stuff tends to happen. In a democratic society, people tend to be disinterested in public affairs. They don't really want to be involved or engaged in their community. Why not?
No time.
Individualism and consumerism. I want to be left alone to enjoy my friends and families and the cool new 60-inch TV I've managed to save up and purchase, along with 700 channel subscriptions. There's a point, I can't even use my TV at home. I just can't. It's too complicated. I have to get one of the kids. It was embarrassing. The night everyone was out, just me and the 12-year-old. I said, Michael, can you get the remote control and show Daddy what to do here? In any case, individualism causes it. I'm not interested. I just want to focus on my friends and family. Leave me alone. Consumerism. I want to focus on getting more creature comforts. I want to work hard, earn more money, buy more things. What that means is when people under this individualism and consumerism causes this to happen. When people see a problem out there, they're not stupid and they're not insensitive. They see some problem in their society. They say, we should do something about that. The natural tendency is not to get together with their neighbors and say, let's form a committee and do something about that. It's to write a letter to City Hall, or they send an email to City Hall, say, hey, there's this problem, you people. Hey, we need a school. City Hall, you build it and you run it. We don't have time. I don't want to be involved in raising money. I certainly don't want to be donating a lot of money. I need the money for me. So everything becomes government's responsibility. We need more places where, kids need youth sports. Instead of getting together and forming a little league committee or something like that, people write to City Hall and say, government, there need to be some youth sports. Why isn't there a baseball league in this town? And they make it government's problem. Okay? So the individualism and consumerism causes people to be disinterested in public affairs. They may notice problems, inconveniences may affect them, but they're not willing to roll up their sleeves and try to address the problems themselves. What, after all, do we pay taxes for? It's their job to make things go away. And the fourth item on our handy-dandy list are our lack of self-sufficiency in a world of individualism. Or lack of self-sufficiency in a world of individualism. Fair enough? What does this mean? Democratic man takes great pride in being self-sufficient. I don't need any help. I can navigate life by myself. Rugged individualism. Pull myself up by my own bootstraps. Think about that. That's impossible to do. But think about it. But democratic man may talk that way. He doesn't live that way. Because as a matter of fact, human beings are not self-sufficient. One of the defining attributes of human existence is our neediness. What could be less self-sufficient than a newborn infant. How self-sufficient are most people in their 90s, who make it to their 90s? At the beginning and end of life, we tend to be almost entirely dependent on others. But if you look at it honestly, even in between, we're not self-sufficient. We get by with help, lots of help from lots of different people, families, friends, institutions of various kinds. Okay? So the basic fact is we need help. In a democratic society, it's hard to find help. Go back to Dylan the shoemaker and place it in an aristocratic society. Okay? Let's pretend Dylan, the example I always use, he breaks his leg one day and the doctor says you have to spend the next 6 months in bed or you're going to lose your leg. So what does he do? Lay in bed and they all starve to death together? He looks for help, but help is all around him. His father is a retired shoemaker who lives under the same roof. His father can reopen the shop, just like he did for many decades before. His 12-year-old son is his apprentice. He can't do everything, but together he and Grandpa can keep things functioning. The family across the street is a family of bakers. Okay? The guy who's currently the town baker was his first friend when he was, a year and a half old. They were playing together. But the baker was the best man at his wedding. They've seen each other every single day for their entire life. The baker isn't going to let him starve. It's a psychology of connection. In an aristocratic society, there are people around to help. You're not in it by yourself alone. But in a democratic society, when Dylan the shoemaker breaks a leg, who does he turn to for help? Can't turn to his father. He lives 1,000 miles from Dad, and Dad doesn't know anything about shoemaking. Can't turn to his kids. They're in school all day learning other stuff. Can't turn to the neighbors on the right or the left side because they've only lived there for 3 or 4 years. He's yet to meet them. Can't turn to the guy across the street. Okay, he knows the guy across the street. They talked once. Who does he turn for help? He turns to the government. And he turns to the government, I want to stress this, not because he's lazy, not because he's a slacker, not because he's allergic to hard work, not because he doesn't want to take care of himself and his family. He turns to the government because there's nobody else. And he can't simply sit there and starve to death and allow his children and his wife to sit there and starve to death. He turns to the government because there's nowhere else he can get help. For all these reasons, government will tend to be become more centralized and expand in its scope. And the question is, where does that take us? Time is up. Keep doing your reading. And by the end of next class, we will have gotten to the topic we've been trying to get to the whole time, where religion fits in to all of this.